I'm here in Appleby today. I'm here with a man named Billy Welch. If you've read any newspaper articles on Appleby, you would have heard quotes from a man named Billy Welch, and you're probably wondering who he is. But I'm here with him today, and I'm going to interview him. So first off, I'll ask you, Billy, what exactly do you do here at Appleby?
Well, I'm the main organiser of the old traditional fair. The fair's been here for centuries, and which is Fair Hill. I organise it, and a week after this fair finishes, we start planning for next year's fair. So all year long, I'm working with the councils, the police, the different authorities, the RSPCA, the Red Cross Fire Brigade, to make the fair run as smoothly and as safely as possible. Yeah. And it's basically an all year round thing. Yeah. And I'm also the spokesperson and representative of the Gypsy and Traveller people here. And
how long have you been doing it for?
My father died, 25 years. My father died 25 years ago, but he did it before me. Yeah. I inherited this responsibility from him. Yeah. And so it's going back as long as we can remember. My family have all sort of been the custodians of the fair. We look after it. Yeah. People just expect us to do that.
And then your children will continue this tradition then?
Hopefully. I've had a strong conversation with a couple of my sons. They're not very happy about it, but they haven't got a lot to say in the matter.
Okay, so the fair gets a lot of negative attention in the media. Do you think this is justified?
No, I don't. There is nowhere in the British Isles, or possibly the world, where you would get an event of this size, with this volume of people, and have the least amount of criminality and law breaking. It is official on police records. I'm not saying someone coming here innocently bought a stolen trailer, a caravan, or coming here with a vehicle with no insurance on it. That, not counting things like that. I'm talking about a crime actually committed at Appleby when this fair's on. And the police records state that the crime rate is practically zero. Yeah. In fact, when the fair's on and up and running, the crime rate in Appleby and the surrounding area goes down. So the anti-fair lobby who try to push what's this crime wave, the crime wave and the gypsies and the travellers here, is a lie, because it doesn't exist. I'm not saying we're perfect, there's no such thing as perfect, but officially on police records the crime rate is practically zero. What they've got it in Carlisle, just up the road here, a little area Carlisle called Butchergate, where the nightclubs are. The police, an ex-policeman's been here this morning talking to me. He said with 300 to 400 revellers, just in Butchergate alone, in one night on a Friday night, we get 50 times more trouble than what we get from 50,000 people in Appleby over a period of a week. The pubs is packed, there's a lot of drinking going on, we get 50 times more trouble. So they tried the best to promote the fair as a dangerous, lawless place. Yeah. But it isn't. It's the opposite of that. And the media just point blank refuse to report it like that. The police have told them, I have told them, but they won't. So what they do is they wait on a rare occasion when there's been one little incident, and it can be the simplest little thing, turn a mole into a mountain, and they make a big thing about it. They just focus on the negativity. Yeah. So it's all down to the media and what the media want to report.
And what do you think the media, politicians and the anti-fair lobby, what do you think they do what they do? Like, what's their issue with gypsies and travellers?
Well, it's easy. It's a thing called racism. Yeah. Pure racism. Everybody in this country and every ethnic minority has this thing called your human rights. But they don't think we're human, and they don't think we've got no rights. This is the problem. Yeah. And no matter what we do, no matter what we say, the media will not give us a fair crack of the whip. They just won't do it.
Yeah. And how does a negative perception then of Travellers and Gypsies, how does it affect you personally? And how does it affect people at the fair and their lives?
As gypsy people and travelling people, we live with racism, live with it all our lives. We experience it on a day-to-day basis. So human nature is a very, very capable of way of just getting used to things. And it's called overtime, and it doesn't bother you. So basically, what these bigoted racist people think, we don't care. Because nothing we say or do will ever change their minds. They've got that mindset, and you'll never change it. They've got this perception about gypsy people and travelling people, what they don't know the first thing about. Yeah. They don't know anything about us. And it doesn't bother us. We get on with our lives. As long as we can have events like this, where we can be together, amongst our own and be confident and be happy. That's all we need.
Yeah. And I suppose final question would be, what do you think Travellers and Gypsies can do to change this perception of us?
Yeah. Well, for quite a few years, I've been a lot in the past. A lot of gypsy people, travelling people, Claude and myself, as well as young people. We never bothered to vote. We didn't think it would, whatever we said or whatever we did would make no difference to the wider community, to the government, to the councils. We didn't bother. We lived in that little bubble, and the Gorgie people lived in their bubble. And what they did didn't bother us because we didn't care. And what we did didn't bother them.
Yeah.
But times have changed, and things are getting worse for us, especially since we had Boris Johnson for a Prime Minister and Priti Patel. They fetched that police bill out. We're having struggles with not so much Appleby but with other ancient horse fairs now, excuse me. And we're fighting to preserve them. Some of them's older than this fair.
Yeah.
We've got to change our mindset. We've got to change the way we think. Our biggest problem is we live in a democracy and we don't use it. We've got to start using the ballot box. The government thinks there's 260,000 gypsies and travellers in this country. Well, they're wrong. They're miles out with that. There's easily 1 million, maybe 1.5 million. Could be upwards of 2 million, because 90% of our people live in houses and they don't know who they are. They don't know where they are.
Yeah.
They're just counting people on campsites.
Yeah.
Now, if we can get together, and I've been promoting this for quite a long time now, and I've done a full, like a weekly series, 6-week series thing with Sky News years ago about promoting democracy amongst our people.
Yeah.
And I've every opportunity I get, if I'm on the TV, if I'm on the radio, newspapers, I push for that.
Yeah.
We're starting gradually now, we're starting to work, more and more of us are starting to vote, but we've got to get everybody voting.
Yeah.
And we've got this benefit of one thing, this thing called social media. And everybody's got one of them, we all have.
Yeah.
And we can all stay in touch with each other. And if we can all organise ourselves to vote in a block vote from one party to the other, please believe me, overnight we become valuable. Even if it's only 500,000 who can vote. 500,000 voting in one block vote could make the difference between one political party getting into power and another one getting kicked out in the event of a close run election.
Yeah.
We could make the difference.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, overnight, we become valuable to the local councillors, especially in like a town like Darlington, where I live. It's like the capital for gypsies and travellers in England and well, in Britain. And we've started already doing that there, and it's started already to have an effect. They're starting to take up and sit up, take notice to us, and treat us with respect, like they do with everybody else, the wider community and the other ethnic minorities, because they've always used the ballot box. And we haven't. We've got to get into it. And once we become valuable to them, and we can use that social media to network amongst ourselves and say, right, the best way forward for us is to vote for this particular party. This party will do this for us and that for us. And they're saying it in the manifestos. They're saying we're going to treat gypsy people like human beings. We don't want more than anybody else. We don't think we're better than anybody else. But nor do we think anybody else is better than us. And we just want the same thing as what the rest of them's got.
Yeah.
Respect, and our human rights. And the only way to do it, there's no other way to do it. We can argue with them and debate with them till we're blue in the face. Overnight, when these councillors sit up and these MPs and they think there's lots of vote in one block vote, in big areas of travelling people and gypsy people, where there's massive communities of them, that will have a real effect to remain. But it will make them sit up, take notice, and overnight will become valuable to them.
Yeah.
And if you're not valuable, you're a lowlife and nobody wants you. If you are valuable, we love you. To remain, they love you.
You mentioned earlier I believe the Police Crime and Sentencing Act of 2022.
Yeah.
Now obviously this was passed by
Section 4.
So it was passed 2 years ago. And things like these are passed because travellers at the time, Travellers and Gypsies didn't come together and they didn't push back against it. What do you think could happen in the future if travellers remain the way they've been behaving for the last, decades, the last like 2, 3 to 4 decades.
Well, I spoke to a lot of chief constables up and down the country about this, and I went to a lot of meetings with them. They didn't want that police bill.
Yeah.
They didn't want it. Basically, our police force is not perfect, but as police forces go in this world, they're a pretty good police force. And they are the envy of the world. They're not perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. You've got hundreds of thousands of people in one organisation. You're going to get the odd idiot and the odd bad person. That's human nature. We've got that ourselves amongst our people. But they didn't want this police bill. They said we've got enough laws to deal with gypsies and travellers. I don't know why they're forcing us to do this. Basically, because the last time a law was fetched out like this, it was in Ireland, I think, in 2020, was it? 2000, yeah. Was it 2000? No, not 2020, yeah.
Fairly recently, yeah.
Yeah, fairly recently, anyways. But before that, the last time a law was fetched out in any country like that was pre-war Germany, just before the war started.
Yeah.
The Nazis introduced the identical law against the gypsy people and the travelling people.
Yeah.
And it went from taking their homes off them and their horses and put the children in a home and putting them in a prison to putting them all in a concentration camp.
Yeah.
Then they went from concentration camp to death camps.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute this government would do that.
Yeah.
But we've got to remember that that is how, this is the police bill is how that law began.
Yeah.
How it began. Now, we had a bit of good news from the High Courts recently that they want this looked at and they've sent it back to the government. And I did say to them, because I spoke in Parliament Square about it, and with Labour MPs and even the Scottish National Party, the SNP MP stood there with us, and some of the baronesses and lords, and I said, this law must be scrapped, or it must be amended. It needs to be amended.
Yeah.
I'm willing to sit down and talk to them, and it needs to be amended. This has completely taken away our history, our culture, not just our human rights. Our history goes back thousands of years. Gypsy people have got their own DNA footprint, as have the Irish travelling community and the other travelling community, the English and the Scottish and the Welsh. We're ancient peoples, nomadic peoples that go back thousands of years with an ancient beliefs and ancient cultures. You just can't wipe that away because you think it's inconvenient with a stroke of a pen.
Yeah.
And it won't go away. It won't go away. Because we've had things like this in the past. And we've had different governments who turned on us, different royal families over centuries ago who turned on us. But we've always got one thing on our side, what they can't beat. Time. Because they think, in time, we'll go away, but we won't.
Yeah.
We won't. They might wear the fancy watches, but we have the time. And I said this at Glastonbury last year. I said, and another year before, I said, on about Boris Johnson. I said he'll be gone. Before next Glastonbury, he'll be gone. He'll be out of a job. I said, because nobody who ever turned on gypsy people or travelling people ever prosper.
Yeah.
And there's never been a government, including Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. Once you turned on the gypsies and the travellers, you don't prosper and you don't last long.
Yeah.
And history proves that.
Yeah.
I said, and he will be gone before this year's out. Him and his friend Priti Patel, they'll be gone. They should have never turned on the gypsy people and travelling people because they'll never have another day's luck. Within months, they were gone.
Yeah.
Then I thought Rishi Sunak maybe would have amended it, but Rishi Sunak inherited a massive mess of Boris and Liz Truss. A complete mess what they made. He inherited it. And he hasn't had enough time to turn things round. But at the end of the day, the High Courts have sent this back to the government. Now, maybe if it's Sir Keir Starmer and the Labour Party after this election, maybe they will listen to us and maybe they will reverse it. But the only thing we can do is not give in and just keep fighting. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Of course, but it's a devastating bill. I have some information. So as you said, it's part 4 of the Police Crime Sentencing and Court Act of 2022, which is sections, 2020, which will be sections 83 to 85. It deals with unauthorised encampments. It states that a person aged 18 or over who is residing or intending to reside on land without the consent of the occupier of the land and is causing significant damage or significant disruption or is deemed likely to cause significant damage or significant disruption can be moved off the land and you can remove the property and have to remove the property from the land, yeah?
Yeah.
The occupier of the land would be the person who owns the land, or in a case of common land, it would be the local authority. If they don't leave as soon as reasonably practical, they can face up to 3 months in prison, receive a £2,500 fine, and they can have their property, such as their cars and caravans/trailers, seized. So if you live in a trailer, this will make you homeless.
Yeah.
So examples of significant damage would be damage to land.
And what happens to your children? If you've got little children, what happens to
Of course, yeah. What happens to them, yeah.
social service?
Yeah. But what's important to remember is you don't actually have to cause significant damage or disruption.
No.
They have to have suspicion that you will do it, and then you can be sent to prison, fined, and made homeless.
Personally, with absolutely no evidence of wrongdoing, we can be arrested and have our homes confiscated. Your children can be given away to social services with absolutely no evidence of wrongdoing. They might think we might do something. You can be accused of something by one of the local residents in the area or a family, accused of it, with no evidence. No evidence at all. You can be put in prison, your home confiscated and your vehicles and turned into a criminal with absolutely no evidence of wrongdoing. That first was introduced, a law very, very similar to it, practically identical, by the Nazis in pre-war Germany. So that tells you everything about Boris Johnson and Priti Patel and that government.
Of course.
And some of them MPs sitting in that parliament are friends with me, or supposed to be friends with me. And every one of them voted for it. And afterwards, when I seen them, I said, I'm absolutely disgusted in yous. Shocked and disgusted that you would actually turn around and do that to me and my people after you've sat and patronised me, paid me lip service and talked to me like I'm a child and treat me and my people like children, and then you go and do that. But I said, I tell you what you won't do. You won't prosper. None of you will prosper for this. And they haven't.
Yeah.
They haven't. Boris was charged and he lost his job. He got kicked out not long after it. Do you know what I mean? And Priti Patel, that nobody's now. And there'll never ever be anybody again. And, well, they think, you see, what the Conservatives did under Boris, they thought, if we bring out a lot of popularist policies against the gypsy people, travelling people, if we bring out some laws and things so we can persecute them and allow the right wing to crawl out of the woodwork like maggots and turn on them, that's all it's done. All that police bill did as well was empower the racists, empower the right wing. That's all they've done, and it's caused us problems. But, like I said before, there's one thing we've got on our side. It's time. We'll just wait them out, and they'll all be gone. Yeah. And we'll get a government, a sensible government, who's reasonable and will look at us like human beings and listen to our concerns. Not some government who brings some horrible, wicked laws out against us just to make themselves popular. All that is being a bully.
Well, Billy, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to speak to us.
No problem.
Thank you very much for inviting us into your home. It's been a pleasure, Billy. Thank you very much.
Thank you for asking me.
Thank you very much.